Угу.
Сейчас, подожди секундочку, скажи.
Да, ми тут чекаємо, коли ми тебе побачимо. Тому що тут багато компів. Бачимо тебе.
Я просто не вмикав камеру.
Ага.
Зараз
Супер.
бачиш?
Все, в залі тебе видно.
Ага. Ну, скажеш, коли ми
Да,
може
да.
починати, коли стартує трансляція, там таке інше.
Давайте Окей. Ну, збираємось усім. Тут багато хто ще грає. Ну що, погнали? Будемо закривати двері?
Отже, я буду починати потрошки.
Так,
бо
ми
в нас
починаємо, так.
Там... Бо
Вже
нас там
в залі зібрались усі.
Супер, супер. Бо в нас там спікери. О, зараз я вас всіх бачу, це круто. Дякую, що мені вивели. Я і себе бачу, і людей також бачу. Круто. Всім дякую, що прийшли. Я сподіваюся, мене добре чути. Я радий всіх вас вітати, як завжди. У нас вже така традиція збиратись як мінімум декілька разів на місяць. Я вважаю, що це крута традиція, там будемо її продовжувати у 23-му році. Але сьогодні в нас особливий івент, тому що в нас він останній в цьому 2022 році. Я хочу трошки підбити підсумки того, чого ми досягли як спільнота у 2022-му. І показати трошки таку невеличку інфографіку. Зараз, секунду. Підкажіть мені, будь ласка, чи її бачать люди?
Так, все бачимо.
Супер. Ось дивіться, в нас, нам, хто не знає, нам вже 1 рік, і це дуже круто, я особисто дуже цьому радію. Десь плюс-мінус рік тому, у грудні я створив чат Kyiv Ethereum Community, куди я запросив всіх своїх студентів, які в мене були, які в мене навчалися на курсах на той час. В нас тоді закінчився курс, і ми не знали, що робити далі, тобто кожен жалівся про те, що немає ком'юніті в Україні, немає нічого, де можна писати, десь задавати питання, або спілкуватися на ці теми і таке інше. І ось там, коли я їхав додому з останньої лекції, зрозумів, що хочу створити щось таке, де люди зможуть спілкуватись. Ось ми це створили, пройшов рік. Звісно, якщо б не війна, на жаль, нам не вдалося там провести всі івенти, які ми хотіли, які були заплановані. Тим не менш, я вважаю, що ми зробили багато, тож давайте подивимось, що саме. Ось дивіться, в нас, наприклад, почнемо з того, що ми провели 6 мітапів. Так, ви бачили, там 6-й мітап був останній івент перед цим. Вони пройшли доволі успішно. В нас було 20 спікерів оверол за цей рік на наших мітапах, воркшопах, якихось там інших івентах. Ми провели 4 воркшопи. 2 воркшопи ми провели в рамках Kyiv Tech Summit, і 2 воркшопи ми провели просто так самі, на різні теми. Ну, насправді вийшло прикольно, багатьом сподобалось. Але це такі технічні воркшопи, і ми будемо продовжувати їх робити, так само, як і мітапи в 2023 році. В нас з вами пройшов один The Merge Party. на жаль, такого вже не буде в 2023 році, але я вважаю, що він пройшов успішно, все було круто. У нас також пройшов один Web3 Ukraine Startup Pitch Day. Ми зібрали там більше ніж 60 заявок на те, щоб виступити на ньому. Він також пройшов успішно, ми зробили висновки і плануємо також продовжувати робити їх наступні там місяці. Можливо, їх буде там десь 2-3 в наступному році, але подивимось. Ось, у нас зараз так, 500 плюс унікальних людей сходили на наші івенти за 2022 рік. Це, типу, небагато, звісно, це там навіть менше, ніж якась конференція одна, але в нас не є ціллю там кількість людей і так далі. У нас є ціллю збудувати якісне ком'юніті з людьми, які хочуть розвиватися, хочуть щось вкладати в нашу спільноту, які відчувають також, як я відчуваю, соціальну відповідальність перед усіма, перед Україною також, так, і хочуть розвиватися тут Web3. В мене насправді є там багато друзів, партнерів, які цим займаються. І я вважаю, що в нас Україна стане там Web3 хабом, як всі цього хочуть. Але на це потрібно там декілька років. Але це буде. Я не сумніваюся. В нас вже більше 500 людей в телеграм-чаті. Звісно, там це з нуля, тобто у нас було 0, зараз у нас більше там, чим 500. В нас є там сторінка в інстаграмі, там 113 підписників, на Твіттері 101, на Фейсбуці 241 підписник. І також дуже там пишаюся тим, що нам вдалося зібрати 250 тисяч гривень та передати на потреби української армії. Це сюди входить також хакатон, який ми виграли на Київ Техсаміті. Там виграли два баунті. Там у нас вийшло $3330, і ми все передали там на БПЛА, який вже наразі на фронті. Також сюди входять ті суми, які ви донатили, також сюди входять білети, які ви купуєте на наші івенти. Всі ці гроші передаються безпослідовно на ЗСУ, на різні потреби, тобто там і БПЛА, і баггі, так, це типу машини для ЗСУ. Ось, і зараз там, наприклад, сьогодні ми будемо відправляти гроші, які там з білетів, та також, які ми сьогодні назбираємо, ми будемо відправляти знову на новий БПЛА. Він там коштує 2 мільйони, більше ніж 2 мільйони. Це збирає мій друг, знайомий. Ось, і типу йому потрібна допомога, ми з радістю допомагаємо. Ось, ну, така от інфографіка наша. Далі, що сьогодні буде відбуватись? У нас сьогодні заплановано 2 спікери. І я сподіваюся, ви вже бачили афішу. Ви розумієте, що сьогодні у нас все буде на англійській. Зараз я трошки зроблю таке інтро, і потім ми перейдемо вже безпослідовно до нашої теми. Перш ніж я піду далі, хочу подякувати всім нашим партнерам. Для нас є дуже важливим підтримка Encrypted. Це номер 1 криптомедіа в Україні. Вони наразі зараз перебувають на івенті також, дехто з їх команди. Ми вам дуже вдячні за те, що ви нас підтримуєте медійно і будь-якими іншими засобами. Це дуже важливо для нас і допомагає розвиватись. Ми також дякуємо Lift 99, тому що вони нас також супортять протягом всього року, вони нам допомагають, надають приміщення. В них дуже круто, затишно, де ви зараз знаходитесь. Дуже їм дякую за це. Також нам допомагає Unit City і Sigma Software University. Також вони допомагають в рамках того, що вони нам надають приміщення і все те ж саме, тобто дають можливість нам проводити івенти там, де є світло, там, де є інтернет і все таке. Також дякуємо дуже нашим партнерам з TV 7 Studio, які допомагають нам наразі з прямою трансляцією для того, щоб люди, які зараз не знаходяться в Україні, також, наприклад, могли долучитися або знаходяться в інших городах України, містах, могли також долучитися і подивитись все те, що тут відбувається, долучитись до цієї атмосфери. Ось. Що ще хотів би сказати? В афіші ви бачили, скоріш за все, мали бачити. Ми сьогодні вам видали такі білетики з номерками. Ви можете там побачити, кого не видали, будь ласка, підійдіть до організаторів. Ось, і там вони вам мають видати. Ну, я, до речі, один з організаторів, але там є люди, які допомагають мені в цьому. Ось така кепка, наш мерч. Вони зараз не є в офісі, але коли ми зробимо розіграш, це буде після 2 спікерів, коли ми зробимо розіграш, то потім ви напишете на цьому номерку, які будуть виграшними, ім'я та прізвище, там номер відділення нової пошти, і вам будуть відправлені ці речі. Це стосовно кепки, так виглядає також наш худі. Зараз, секунду. Плюс-мінус так. Ну, звісно, він буде трошки відрізнятись. Там це дизайн. Як він буде в реалі зроблений, то вже потім ви надасте фідбек там в нашому телеграм-чаті, або десь, або мені особисто, або якось по-іншому. Ось. Це наразі все, що я хотів сказати. Розіграш ми проведемо після того, як коли відбудеться 2 наших спіча від наших спікерів, так, буде розіграш. А з приводу, в нас є також суперпризи сьогодні, це наші леджери. Ledger Nano S Plus, у нас їх 2, і один Ledger Nano X. У вас є можливість сьогодні їх отримати. Я довго думав, як це зробити. Не хочеться просто там їх розігрувати на Random.org, бо це дуже так. Мені здається, було б правильно зробити наступним чином. Зараз там десь на хвилину або може менше Анатолій покаже QR-код банки, в якому ми збираємо на БПЛА для ЗСУ, і кожен донат від 100 гривень буде враховуватись як типу білет для того, щоб приймати участь в розіграші цих леджерів. Ось, це буде розіграш леджерів 2 Ledger Nano S, так, а Ledger Nano X ви дізнаєтесь потім, як ми розіграємо. Ось, і у вас, типу, наприклад, ви донатите там 100 гривень, по 5 разів по 100 гривень, і ось потім я беру всі ці донати, які мені прийдуть на банку, і я їх виписую, і потім в нас буде, наприклад, там, я не знаю, 100 донатів, і ось потім я беру рандомне число в Random.org, і який донат виграє, ця людина, на який донат попаде, ця людина отримає Ledger Nano S. Буде так 2 рази, і чим більше донатів ви зробите, наприклад, так, тим краще. Ви можете робити донати не тільки на 100 гривень, на 150, 200, 1000, 10 тисяч, якщо у вас є гроші, будь ласка. Але мінімальна сума – це 100 гривень. Якщо у вас донат менше там 50 гривень, то менше 100 гривень, там 50, 70 і так далі, ваш донат не буде враховуватись. Ось, і розіграш буде в кінці, тобто після всього, що відбудеться. Зараз я попрошу Анатолія вивести банку на екран. Я не знаю, можете її зафоткати, можете потім підійти. Я її скину також в чат. в наш телеграм-чат Kyiv Ethereum ком'юніті. Кого там ще немає, будь ласка, заходьте. Можна відобразити QR-код наразі.
Да. За секунду вже буде.
Угу. Так, дякую. Хочу також зауважити, що всі, хто прийшов, купив білет і не прийшов і так далі, вже зробили свій донат, і це супер. Я вам дуже вдячний, друзі, чесно. Це дуже великий плюс для нас всіх, для ЗСУ. Працюємо на перемогу разом. Так, ну ще десь 10 секунд давайте, і потім я попрошу Анатолія включити нам відео, яке буде 2 хвилини. Я зараз зроблю швидкий інтро. Наші друзі з Unit City випустили пісню стосовно 2022 року і стосовно того, що відбувається. І ця пісня, вона така дуже патріотична. Я б хотів, щоб її зараз включили, якщо є така можливість. Дякую.
Окей, рік, що минає, був досить незвичний. Уілл Сміт крізь уроку надавав по обличчю. Вогонь олімпійський запалили в Пекіні, але найголовніше відбулось в Україні. Друга армія світу, превентивний удар, ТРО Ірпіня, Джевелін, Байрактар. Ми розкидані світом, але це тимчасово, скоро всі неодмінно зустрінемось знову. Ну а в світі цей час відбувалося різне. Кошенята, Джеймс Веб, про Стефанію пісня. Королева пішла, Ілон Маск показився, в світі криптозима. А у нас чекавиця, десь там дивні дива, Елден Рінг, Дім дракону. А у нас тут бутеріни, кавуни з Херсону. Десь поляки вночі упіймали бобра, ми впіймали свого, ну хіба не ура?
Jasne, jasne, panie pośle, do Moskwy. Do Moskwy.
Що ви чудите?
Слава Україні!
Слава Україні! Давай! Падай!
Добрий день, everybody!
А згадай, як супутник придбала країна, як у Львові чувак провтикав Анжеліну. І вдень, і вночі у Фейсбуці срачі, і терпіти бавовну немає сечі. Я вообще не хочу уїжджать за Луж, ти не уїдеш, так каже Валерій Залужний. Поки десь там катарці ганяють футбол, наші Кримському мосту всандалили гол. Ну а далі блекаут по всій Україні, манікюр в укриттях, під червону калину, неймовірний веб-саміт, що вразив усіх, а ще звісно патрон, і Пігасо підчіх. Всіх нам точно назавжди змінить цей рік, когось зробить сильнішим, а когось зіб'є сніг. Але поки ми сильні, вільні, єдині, Боже, як добре жить в Україні.
І отак треба робити. І дуже тобі велика повага, що ти єдиний.
Так, всім дякую. Мені особисто дуже подобається це відео. Дуже радий, що вони його зробили. Ви можете шарити також друзям. Мене воно трошки надихає також. Тож дякуємо. В мене все. Let's then switch to English. Here is Antonio. I'm glad to introduce him here. He's from Dune Analytics. And we are actually starting our speech, so please take a microphone.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me well? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Okay.
Anton?
Yeah, we also can hear you well.
Okay, great.
Okay, awesome. Well, first of all, thank you guys for the invite. Super happy to be here and talk a bit about Dune. I wish I could be there in person, but yeah, maybe next year. Who knows?
Yeah, definitely we will invite you in all our events. So yeah.
Let's do it, man. I'd be super happy to visit Ukraine. I've never been. Yeah, I'm gonna talk a bit to you about Dune Analytics. I'm gonna share my screen. Here we go. Perfect. So I don't know if you all know what Dune Analytics is. I will give you basically a technical introduction, but super low level on what decoding is. And I'll explain what we are trying to build at Dune as like a data company in Web3. So what is Dune? Dune Analytics is a Web3 data company, and what we're trying to do is, and what this means is, we all know here that blockchains are public, and you can see the data on a blockchain. Everyone can access it if they connect to a node and request data, but that does not mean that it's easy to get it. You need to build this infrastructure, and it's even harder to interpret the data, because it comes encoded, and different projects have different contracts and different versions of smart contracts. It's not very trivial. So what we are trying to build at Dune Analytics is a way for Web3 data to be accessible by anyone. And this is it will work for if you're, a developer getting into the game, or if you're a super big company in the space, like Uniswap or OpenSea or whatever. So we want you all to have access to data, and we're trying to build a data infrastructure to it, so that since this is the first ecosystem where everyone is actually connecting to the same database, and it's append only, there is no need for every company or every person getting into this to build their own data team and start from scratch. So what is data in Web3, right? So there's a few things you see. There's the wallets and the RPC endpoints, which are the ways in which interactions happen on the blockchain. There's the applications themselves, Uniswap or OpenSea or whatever else, whatever other smart contract you see, where you can trade tokens, you can buy NFTs, you can get a loan, you can do so many things. Then there's this layer of block explorers, Etherscan is the most known, of course, where you can explore, in a given block or in a given transaction, what happened. And then there is Dune, and we're trying to do something a bit broader in terms of what you can see here. So we want all historical data. We want you to be able to do cross-chain querying. We want you to be able to do historical queries from aggregations, 2017 to now, how many wallets transact per day, stuff like this. This is something that you can't do on a block explorer, but that you can do on Dune. Of course, there's a few more things, but I'll go over some of them. So some quick notes on what you can do at Dune. This historical streaming data for several blockchains, query a lot of chains at the same time, so you can easily compare Polygon versus Ethereum, for example. We now have 10 chains live, and we want to have more. You just need SQL to query. We have team plans, so if you work in a company that does crypto, you can all be in the same team and share queries with each other and build off of each other, stuff like this. Let's talk a bit about what decoding is actually, and that's what I want to introduce to you and show you why it's powerful from a data perspective. Most of the focus, I feel sometimes in the space, is still a lot on solidity development and how do contracts play with each other, but not the data side of things, or the data analysis side of things is still not very well explored and talked about a lot. For sure more now than last year, but it's still important to go through the basics and to see how companies like Dune are making this easier, and how decoding is the key piece to make data accessible for everyone. So I bring you here today an example. I can share this presentation later, by the way, but I bring you today an example of a Uniswap V2 pair contract. So ETH and USDC, where you would want to trade ETH for USDC. And so when you're on Uniswap and you try to do this trade, you're interacting with a smart contract. And when you press swap, what happens is a function is called on this contract on Uniswap. And this function is called swap. And when the swap happens, an event is emitted to the chain. And an event is basically a way to store a data blob on chain. So this data, this swap event that happened, has this format. And this format that you see here is what we call an ABI. So an ABI is where all functions and events in a contract are defined. so that when you have your wallet and you want to like interact with something, it's how you know, okay, if I want to trigger a swap when I click this button, the data I send needs to have the following inputs. So it needs to have a sender, which is like an address. It needs to have an amount 0 in, which is a uint, an amount 1 in, uint, an amount 0 out, uint, amount 1 out, uint, and a 2, that's an address. So this means that there is like basically an event that if you send to chain with these inputs, it will be successful. So let's see how basically knowing this, and imagine that you want to see like, okay, I want to know who, like now I understand what an ABI is and what an event looks like on the blockchain to interact with, like what inputs I need. So let's say now I wanted to see, some events that happened in terms of these trades. So like I want to see the last 10 trades on this event. There is a way to do that, of course. And that way is by getting to this hash that you see here. And how you get here is basically this. So this first step is just the definition. So like basically from this JSON, you can identify this, which is like, okay, I want to call an event that has the name swap. And these are the inputs. And it's like data type, input name, data type, input name. If you strip away the event, and if you strip away the names, what you get is just the name of the event and the data types of the inputs. And then if you hash this with this KK algorithm, you basically get this massive hash that looks like a transaction hash. So this is, you can think of it like the index key to look for any swap that happened using this structure on chain. What this means on Dune is, for example, if you want to do a query on it and you want to get like block time, the block number, what was the contract that was interacted with, and some like raw data on what actually happened, you would query a table that is called like Ethereum logs, and you would pass this topic one is like where the index is saved, you can imagine. So if you pass this hash key as on the search here on topic one, you will get back all the swap events that were emitted on chain in this format, you can see. So the problem with this format is obviously that everything is encoded. So you know already from the inputs that you have some addresses and you have some amounts that are numbers, but there is no easy way to read this data, basically. So decoding, what we do is basically we connect, like we do imagine like a join between the ABI and the transactions that happen. And that means we can give you a table like this. So this table, as you can see here, first of all, on the field names, you have the actual inputs, right? So of course you have the things related to the event itself, like what was the block, at what time was it, what was the contract address, and what was the transaction. But you have the actual names of inputs. You have a table for it, so it doesn't mean you need to. So if you want to just see this event, you don't need to do a full table scan on all the Ethereum logs since forever. You can just look at Uniswap v2 on Ethereum and at this particular event on this particular contract. And more importantly, the result set that you can see below is already parsed. So now if you wanted to see, for example, how many swaps happened today, you can just do a count. But if you want to sum amounts, like how many went in and how many went out of these, how many token 0 went in and how many went out, or the mean or whatever you want to do, you can just calculate it. You don't need to be parsing it. And the data is stored by Dune already in the right formats. So I think this is a clear example of what decoding is. So you basically go from a real life, a real event that was emitted on chain, to understanding how it's written, to not having to go through all this because we abstract this work away of, decoding, to an easy table to query. So that's all nice and super important, but it's also just a first step. So the important thing to know about this is that at Dune, you don't just have this swap event, you have all the events for this contract, but it's not also just like this contract. It's like any contract on EVM. So that's Ethereum, Polygon, BNB, Avalanche, Arbitrum, Optimism, Gnosis chain. Like any EVM chain will be able to decode. And any contract, any event, any function. So that means that suddenly it doesn't matter if you're like Uniswap and you want to have your data accessible, or if you're like a new developer that maybe is attending this meetup and you deploy the contract to test and you want to like see the data on your contract. You both have the same power to actually look at the data. So that's pretty incredible. Also for people, coming into the game that want to see like, okay, how do I compare to like my competitors, or how do I compare to people that are like in the same scope? It's easy to see how everyone is doing, and the decoding helps this a lot. Otherwise, we'd all be running queries against the same tables. We also have like a few other things I want to note here. So one of them is that Solana decoding, which is like a different game since it's not a EVM chain, but also like maybe not super important since this is an Ethereum meetup. But we are figuring out Solana decoding, and we will have a version live soon. This makes like schema, table management easier. That's nice, but this is important that we have like some automation so that if you have contracts that generate other contracts, for example, you don't need to be sending us contract to decode all the time. We can automatically pick those up. And coming to a close here, like a next step that you can think of on these decoded projects that is cool is that we are actually building on top of this another layer called Spellbook. And Spellbook is an open source library where you can go, and it's a DBT project, and you can go, anyone can contribute to it. And here we're like leveraging decoded tables to build like aggregations on like verticals or groups of projects. Concrete example, we have like here just a quick picture, but if you go on Dune, you'll see it. We have, for example, a table called dex.trades, and any decentralized exchange can decode their tables and then do a pull request on this repository saying, hey, I want to add my chain to dex.trades, and here is the format of my data. We will like parse it, deploy it, and basically it means that instantly you get included into a massive table that has all trades since the beginning of the chain across all dexes. So it's suddenly easier to compare, Uniswap versus SushiSwap, or, NFT.trades. We can compare like Blur to OpenSea, to also like super small localized players. You can have aggregators, you can have actual dexes that do the swaps. Anything is possible. This repository is open source, by the way, so that means if you also have another idea of like, oh, I would like to see, data on, I don't know, bridges or wallets or whatever, and I have an idea for how this could look like in a table, you can suggest it there. We help you review the code and give you feedback, and then we integrate it, and it's accessible by you for free. Another note that I think might be relevant for some of you here, if you have contracts that you have deployed and you don't have them on Dune for querying, all we need to decode the contract is actually the contract address and the contract ABI, which is like a big list of JSONs like that one I showed you for the swap event. And you can submit your contract at this link. And it usually takes like 24 hours or so, and your contract will be live for anyone to query. If you are like, exploring or doing some data work or whatever, and you want to know if a contract you're curious about is decoded already, you can also go to this dashboard on Dune. There's like a parameter field there, and you can just input like, okay, I want to check if this contract is decoded, put the address, apply the parameter, and it's going to tell you, oh, this contract is decoded, and the name of the contract is blah, blah, and this is like the schema and the table name, and you can query it immediately, and the data is available to you. And again, just like to be clear, Dune has like free access, and it will always have like a free tier. So if you want to explore, if you want to try it out and you haven't, feel free to go ahead, make an account and run some queries. I think Yeah, that's mostly it from my side. I leave you with my Dune profile here. You have my Twitter here also. And I am always like available to help anyone getting into like the Web3 data space that is like curious or has questions. So feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or send me an email or whatever, and I'll get back to you.
Super, super. If there is any questions in the room, please let us know, guys.
Don't be shy.
Um,
I can translate
I-
if you want.
No, I have questions. If you don't have, I can ask. So basically, I already listened this topic the second time because we met with Antonio in Lisbon, and I asked him to do it for our community as well. Because because I think it's great, and what is interesting for me is that you can, let's say, submit your own contract for free, and like for example, you developed it, and you can submit it for free, and they will. And you also submit API, and they actually index your contracts, your events, and everything, and then you can generate graphics and analytics around your smart contract also for free. Actually, they have this functionality. But actually, what I wanted is to use it via API. But as I understood later, there is no way right now to do it because it's still in beta, right?
Yeah. So yeah, the API request has been a thing for for a while, and rightfully so. And the API is going to be coming out for like everyone. You can like access on the site in early January. So
Early
a
January.
few weeks away.
Yeah, because it was like a form with beta, and I actually filled this form, but no one contacted me.
Yeah. We had like that was a mistake because we opened the beta and we did this form in the beginning, and we didn't realize how big the the scale was. And if we were giving out keys now, when we started doing it, it becomes hard to manage if we want to introduce it on the website, because then you have like guys who sent a key via email and you don't know if you can cancel it or not. And other guys who gave it in person, it gets a mess. So yeah, a couple more weeks and it will be live on the website. Sorry
Yeah.
for the delay on that.
No problem. That's great. And whenever it's will come to life, I mean, whenever there will be ability to use the API, it will be really powerful. It will be kind of I don't know, the competitor to Morales maybe. Because so you are indexing the events and so on. But the question will be in price, of course. Do you have some insider information about it?
I know that there will be a free tier as well. But
Free. Okay.
there is one free tier, and then there's like paid tiers if you need like more data
I see.
points or something like this. But to be honest, I don't even know myself.
Okay, I see. Okay, let's wait and then until you release your API, and we'll get back to it. Okay, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you so much for the invite.
Yeah, it was really interesting, and Ukrainian community is always welcome for you. We will invite you to all our hackathons, events, blockchain conferences in Ukraine. So yeah, thank
Let's
you.
do it, man. Hope to meet you guys in person at some point.
Yeah, thank you a lot.
Ciao.
Yeah, see you. And here is our second speaker, Pedro. You can turn on your camera. Yeah, okay, cool.
Yes, hello.
Hello. Before you start, I would like to say a couple of words about the current speech will be. So because it's pretty interesting, because we had a big discussion in our community chat recently about NFT lending protocols. and how to evaluate NFT. How to understand how much liquidity could be borrowed for this specific NFT. So, Alex, I know you are there and you are listening us. So it will be super cool, interesting for you. So please prepare your questions and let's start.
Okay, so thank you. First of all, thank you for the invite, Rotislav. So just to, I don't know if you mentioned this, but you already watched my presentation as well, not only Antonio's. Oh, is that Alexei? Was that
that's Alex. Yeah, who I'm talking about.
Okay. So as I was saying, you already saw my presentation as well. You also watched Antonio's presentation. So they were both done at an event here in Lisbon. And I'm just saying this because we adapted our presentation from what we showed then. And so it's a bit tuned with the Dune in mind as well, because it was a joint presentation that we did with them. So I'll also mention them a little bit. So that's just so you.
Was it after my questions I raised on the meetup we had in Lisbon, or why did you adopt it? Because it was pretty great.
No. I didn't adapt it, to be honest. What I meant was that I just wanted to explain why Dune is mentioned in our presentation explicitly. It's just because we did the presentation jointly with them on here in Lisbon a few weeks ago, and that's why we also mention Dune over here. So I'm trying to share my screen. I think I may have to give permission to Zoom, but let me try. So sorry about this. I'm not sure if this is correct.
Take your time.
I have to allow Zoom. Okay, I'll be back.
Yeah, sure. Що ж, поки наш гость повертається за хвилину, я нагадую всім, що в нас залишилось 10 хвилин для того, щоб зробити донат, який буде приймати участь в нашому розіграші. І вже після цього наступні донати вже не будуть приймати участь. Sorry, so you can go ahead.
No problem. So I guess my screen is being shared, right? You can see it?
Yeah, everything is good. Thank you.
Okay. So as Rotislav mentioned, and I'm sorry if I'm not saying your name correctly.
That's pretty much better than like a lot of people, foreigners.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm glad for that. So again, thank you for the invite, and we are so Zart. I guess I'll be presenting Zart a little bit, and then we can. We also have some technical discussions in this presentation, which should be interesting. So Zart is an NFT lending protocol, which means that we operate a protocol that gives out loans which are backed by NFTs as collateral. And so the goal of the presentation is to, again, present the company and then also present in the protocol, and then also discuss some of the challenges that these types of protocols may have, or actually they do have. So again, what is Zarta? So there are now several different NFT lending protocols. So Zarta, given that it's a peer-to-pool protocol, can and is able to provide instant loans. Whereas in some of our competitors, you would have to find a lender or a borrower interested in being the counterpart of what you want to do. We given the way our protocol is designed, and we can go into this a little bit further, but we do have liquidation protection, which means that whenever you do a loan with Zarta, the conditions of the loan will be the same throughout the maturity of the loan. So there are no automatic liquidations. and you'll be free to operate and your loan in whatever way you find best, always based on the conditions that you are provided whenever you do make the loan. This is not the same with all of our competitors, and some of them do have automatic liquidations. And we also place a lot of importance in designing a friendly user experience, and the user experience that makes this process easy, which I'm sure all of you know that using Web3 at this point in time is not the easiest and friendliest thing to do, but we try to work on this as much as we can. So Zarta is for everyone who loves NFTs and to invest, and we've been funded, so we've been VC funded, and we do have a great team, we believe, behind this project, and if you want to, and it's a docs team as well, so if you want to get to know us, we have a profile for the company at LinkedIn and every other social network as well. Okay, so how data flows at Zarta. So how do we use data to design our protocol in the best way possible? So the business of loans is the business of risk management. So given that we are a peer-to-pool protocol, the pool interacts, or both lenders and borrowers interact with the pool and interact with the protocol. And the way that the underwriting system is designed and the appraisal system is designed will end up affecting both the lenders and the borrowers. In the sense that if we have the most sustainable and profitable system, it will be simultaneously the most sustainable and profitable for the lenders and for the borrowers. And that is our goal. And risk management, in reality, is the business of understanding as much as you know, as much as you can know about the customer, the collateral, and the macroeconomics. These are the most well-known pillars of risk management, generically speaking. So if we go into the customer, we can think of different customer profiles. So for instance, this person can be a very responsible person who has no criminal record, he's financially stable. So maybe for this person, we can give a higher LTV and possibly charge a little bit lower value for the loan, because we can assume that this person will act responsibly with regards to their loan. We can also imagine somebody who's kind of in between, mostly responsible. Maybe they are somewhat of a degen, for instance, and for this person, maybe we can give out medium conditions. And then lastly, we can have somebody who is definitely a criminal and is not very responsible, etc. And maybe for this person, we give out a low LTV and high fees, or even no loan for you, which in this case of Sam Bankman-Fried would definitely be the best course of action. Then moving on to collateral, we can think, so in terms of NFTs, there are some NFTs and some NFT collections that are, very stable at this point. They have a proven track record. They've been long lasting. They have many owners, utility, etc. And these probably are good collections for us to support. And then there are some other ones which are not that obvious. For instance, Ethereum name service. It may be the case that some addresses may have a high value. For instance, Google.it, just as an example. But maybe this one, attention, this name contains non-ASCII characters.eth. Maybe this one is not so valuable. And so this possibly also depends a lot, and it will affect a lot the conditions of the loan. And then in terms of macroeconomics. These are more higher level economic stuff. For instance, the interest rates at that point in time, or the unemployment rate, overall world events. And we all know that at this point in time, the entire economy is facing some issues, and this is what that is, and it should also affect the loan conditions that we can give out. Okay, so how does all of this come together? So the first thing that we have to do whenever somebody requests a loan from Zarta is look at the collateral that person is giving out. So, and we can think about this as, so how can we appraise the value of the NFT? Is this a function of, for instance, the collection, the NFT itself? Are there social signals that can be useful for these, maybe the previous sales of these NFTs? Okay. Then we can move on to the underwriting. Whenever we have the appraisal established, we can move on to the underwriting. And these are the loan conditions. So the percentage of the value of the collateral that we will loan, this is the LTV, the loan duration, the maturity of the loan, and also the APR or the APY that will charge for the loan. And this, again, we can think of this as maybe it's a function of the collection and the NFT, maybe of the user, maybe of the macroeconomics factors. Okay. Then after this, what happens is maybe the loan gets paid by the user, in which case a percentage of the fees goes to Zarta, for building out the protocol, and a much larger percentage of the fees goes to the pool. So currently 75% of the fees goes to the pool and 25% goes to the protocol. And we may have multiple pools, and then the lenders collect this APY from the pool. So this is more or less the way that the protocol is assembled. But as you can see, there are a bunch of different levers that we can, push and pull and tune to make this system the most sustainable and the most profitable possible, both for the borrowers and for the lenders. This scenario is obviously not taking into consideration the scenario where loans get into default and we have to recover the collateral, but we can also get into that. Okay, so now moving on a bit to, we also have this. So, okay, so we've been discussing these types of questions. So how should we work on the appraisal and the underwriting? And this is the type of data that's available for us to work on this, right? So, for instance, the customer, we can look at the different wallet transactions that this person has done. We know, for instance, that there are some protocols who are, building a database of wallets, and, for instance, wallets that are known to have been connected to exploits. And if we understand that the customer may be involved in some dark web stuff or in some exploit stuff, maybe we can take that into consideration. Then the assets of the customer itself. Maybe there's some Web 2 more classical data available about it as well. Then thinking of the collateral again, we can think about the transactions of the NFTs of this collection, and we can think about the metadata, right? The rarity of the NFT, etc. And then in macroeconomics, in terms of macroeconomics, is just looking at global interest rates and all of that stuff, that's the unemployment rate, etc. All of that stuff that's being relevant at this point in our history. So this is the type of data that's available for us to work on these types of problems. Okay, so let's try to answer some of these questions of how we appraise and all of that. So this is going into Dune. So let's try to answer some of the questions. For instance, one of the things that we have to be very careful with is the default rate, because that will affect actually everything. And I can again later explain this a little bit better. But so let's try to answer the question: what default rate can we expect at Zarta? And let's try the manual approach. Okay, so for instance, we can, since Zarta is not yet, despite the fact that we're live, we still haven't made a big bang launch with marketing stuff, etc. We, at this point in time, to start designing the protocol, the best course of action for us is to go into our competitors, look at their current default rates, and assume that what we'll have will be more or less the same. So let's try and do that. So let's going to try to find one of our competitors, in this case, Bendao's Etherscan. Okay, we found this, and if we look down here, we can see that there are some deposits here, some withdrawals here. So this looks like the contract of the pool of Bendao. So let's copy this. So I'm not going to explain what an RPC node is, but let's go into our RPC node. Let's write a bunch of code to, look at every block that's happened since the beginning of Ethereum, and then let's look for events that happened on the Bendao contract since the beginning. Then let's build a bunch of, pandas queries to understand what's going on with the data, And then, okay, finally we got to this value of 10% of the probability of default. So this, as you can see, it took some time. It took a lot of code, it took a lot of effort, and it's not an easy thing to do. However, if we ask the same question, but we actually attempt the smart approach, let's go into Dune, let's search for, again, BendDAO, and the first thing that comes up is this. So we have an aggregated dashboard for all of the lending protocols. Well, not all, Zarta is not here, right? And maybe others are missing as well. So this is also already very good for us. And then, it's just there. The answer is just there immediately in the Dune dashboard. And so this is more or less a plug for Dune, but we use Dune a lot at Zarta for many different reasons, and it really is much easier many times than actually doing the manual approach. So what other questions can we answer? For instance, how does our pricing model compare to that of our competitors? We can answer that with Dune very easily. How many loans do our competitors provide compared to us? Same thing. How does the aggregated NFT lending market look, and how is it growing? Again, same thing. And how many Zarta customers also use our competition? So it's the same thing. All of these questions can be very easily answered with Dune with just a couple of SQL queries, and many more. So we use Dune at Zarta for data, finance, product management, and strategic business decision making. And now to finish off, a funny story, again related to Dune. So I guess you cannot answer me, so I would like to ask if you guys know these NFTs, but I'll answer myself. These are art blocks, and if you know art blocks, so art blocks has a single collection address, but there are many different sub-collections. Let's call them sub-collections within that encompassing collection address. And I was tested a while ago because we want to be able to provide loans for art blocks. I was tasked with appraising these NFTs, and the way that we appraise NFTs, which I can go into detail, requires us to be able to, isolate the NFTs and specifically the sales of the NFTs of each collection that we want to appraise in, again, an isolated manner. And we cannot say so there are some sub-collections of art blocks for which the floor price is like 100 ETH, and there are some others for which the price floor is 1 ETH. So they are very different between themselves. And in order for me to be able to do this, I had to be able to look at the 200,000 NFTs in art blocks and then separate them into the different sub-collections. And again, I went to Dune for the rescue. Oh, sorry, I meant to show this earlier. So this is the art blocks. So I went to Dune for the rescue. I found some art blocks dashboards, and I found something here. So this says here project ID 0, and so it looked to me like this dashboard isolated the different sub-collections, and going into a specific query, I was actually able to find this. So I understood from this that the way to achieve or to look at or to isolate the project ID or the sub-collection ID is to divide the token ID by 1 million. Why they did this, I have no idea. It makes no sense, but it is what it is. And actually, it was very easy to figure this out using Dune. And to be honest, I don't know how I would have found this another way, because looking at even the art blocks documentation, I wasn't able to find this there. So yeah, this is about it. So if you have any questions, and please feel free. I want to answer as much as possible regarding the appraisal and also our underwriting models and all of that.
Guys, any questions?
Yeah, thank you for your good presentation. And my first question, I hope you know all your competitors.
All our? competitors.
Competitors,
We
yes.
do, I hope.
Yes,
so,
and your project is near with NFTX or NFTFi. Or I mean, this is like a protocol, or this work like NFTFi, like NFT Lombard.
Yeah, so it's not like NFTFi. So NFTFi is peer-to-peer lending. It's not peer-to-pool lending. And so the difference is that if you want to request a loan, if you want to borrow money using NFTFi, you have to put out sort of an announcement saying that you are looking for this amount of ETH in exchange for these NFTs as collateral. And then you have to wait for somebody to come in and say, okay, this looks good to me and I'll accept it. With us, you don't have to do that. So you just have to go into the website. You have to look at the available collections that we have. You show the NFTs that you want to give as collateral, and we tell you with our conditions what you'll be able to borrow. And then it's instant. So if you want to request, it's instant. You don't have to wait for somebody to accept your conditions, because they are the conditions set in the pool, and anyone can do this.
My second question, yes. My second question: do you list any NFT collection or like blue chip?
Not all NFT collections. So right now it's just blue chips. I guess it depends. Some people have different definitions of blue chips, but right now it's blue chips, and maybe some others that maybe some people don't consider to be blue chips. But we are supporting, I believe it's 10 collections from the get-go.
Okay, and maybe last question, because I hope someone have also question. How you check floor price? Because do you know if we have a bear market and all it's coming down, how you check a floor? Because need to liquidation my position.
Okay. So the way we appraise the NFTs is not by the floor price, because there are many NFTs within each collection that are rarer, and because they are rarer, their value is much higher than the floor price. And actually, if you look at the NFT sales of the different collections, you will find that most of the sales do not happen near the floor price. They don't. To answer your question, we have many different data providers. We collect data from Alchemy. We collect data from Check NFT, from NFT Go, from many different providers. And what we do is we collect the sales, and that's what we pay the most attention to, is actual NFT sales, because the floor price is defined by the lowest listing on each marketplace at each point in time. And the fact that there's a listing for a given amount of money does not mean that the listing will be accepted by somebody. Whereas a sale is always a concrete proof that that NFT was sold for that amount of ETH, and that the collection is at least valued that, if that's the lowest sale that happened in the past few days. We have two different things. So the appraisal model takes into consideration about 70 different variables based on the price and the rarity and recent averages of these different things to provide the most approximate. It's a machine learning model. It's trying to approximate the sales values. So that's appraisal. And then the underwriting, what we did is we simulated, so taking the historical data from the beginning of this year of all of these different collections, the floor price, the different price metrics, et cetera, we built a simulator, and this simulator takes all of this information and also a set of loans that we provided, and it tells us how profitable it is, if there are moments of loss, if there are moments of good gains, and then we fine-tune those different the LTVs and those different things in order to make it such that the losses are not as bad and that the gains are as best as possible. Of course, there are losses because it's impossible to avoid them, in case of bear market as we are right now. But we designed the system to be as sustainable as possible from the data that we have access to. And yeah, I guess that's about it. And also to say that we have about a fifth, so 1/5 of our company is working on this, just risk. So we place a lot of importance on this. No problem.
Great questions. Thank you. Any others? Yes.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. The question is it's about the security, and as I understood correctly, you take the data from data providers and make decision based on machine learning models. And how can you make sure that the data will be taken or written to the blockchain correctly? How can you check, for example, that the data is valid and you made decision based on the data from the blockchain and from the real history, but not from the data you received from API or from machine learning model?
Sure, that's a good question. So what we did there was we validated we tried to validate and to do due diligence on our data providers as best as possible. So for instance, I can give you an example. So not sure if you know, but OpenSea has recently released a new version of their protocol. It's called Seaport, and it was released, I think, in July. So previously they had a different protocol. It was called Wyvern, and on that protocol, if you bought a bundle of NFTs for a given amount of ETH, the way that the data was written on the blockchain made it so that it would be impossible for you to understand how much of the total value of the transaction was paid for each NFT, because it's like 100 ETH and then 3 NFTs, and you cannot say how much is for each. So if we are thinking about averages and medians and distributions of value, this type of thing will mess up the data, and messed up data will make it so that the models will also have wrong predictions and bad. So garbage in, garbage out. That's what's said about models. And so we asked all of our data providers for this example, what they did with this. So what they did with these transactions that it's impossible for you to understand. And some of them actually changed the way they were handling this because of our question. And so this is the level of depth that we try to go with each of our data providers to make sure that they understand how the blockchain actually works and that they know what they're doing. And then after that, I mean, we have to trust that the data is correct, which you are very much correct that there can be issues, that there can be problems. And in the future, we will assemble monitoring systems to guarantee that this will not happen. These types of issues will not happen. But that's the way we are handling it right now. So doing as much due diligence as possible and going into really the deep technical details of their solutions.
Any other questions? No, it looks like it's all. Thanks for the great answers.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Thanks everyone, and thank you, Pedro, for the presentation. It was really nice to hear you again. And yeah, so I think that's it for now. So thanks a lot to participate. Yeah, so we will switch to Ukrainian then.
Okay. So thanks for the invite, Hotislav, and I wish you all the best. And
Yeah, thanks
have a
a lot.
great Christmas and New Year.
Yeah, you too.
Bye bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye bye.
Так, друзі, в мене таке прохання. Так, я бачу оплески, дякую. Я не чую, але бачу. У мене таке прохання, там хтось вийдіть, будь ласка, зустріньте. Там є людина, яку не можу знайти, як зайти. Чи може вже знайшла, сподіваюсь. Ну, у якому разі. Ось. Тепер давайте так. В нас розіграш. У нас доволі. У нас вийшло 40 донатів. Зараз я поширю екран. Перше, що ми розіграємо, це 5 кепок. 5 кепок. І ми це зробимо через Random.org. Мені сказали, що там роздали 34 ці квадратики з числами. Дивіться, що в нас буде. Зараз дайте я поширю екран, напевно. У вас в кожного є квадратик, на якому написано якесь число. В кого нема, вибачайте, якщо ви не отримали, то ви не берете участь. Ось. Якщо я правильно розумію, їх 34. Тобто в нас зараз ми розіграємо 5 кепок. Одну секунду. Тобто у нас 5, 3, 4. І потім ці числа, що далі роблять, ви пишете. Там є десь ручки, я просив хлопців підготувати. Можете в них запитати там. І підходите, пишете ручкою ім'я, прізвище, номер телефону, відділення нової пошти, куди доставити. І десь наступного тижня вам буде відправка. Це саме стосується і худі. З приводу леджерів, леджери є вже тут. Вони наразі разом там з вами знаходяться, і леджери отримують люди одразу. Це зараз не стосується леджерів, тож перший етап – це почнемо з кепок. І так, get numbers. Оці номери, будь ласка, не знаю, ви бачите чи ні. 19, 12, 1, 2, ага, 19 ще раз, ні. Тобто в нас оці 4, я знав, що вони тут дублюються. Оці 4, 19, 12, 1, 2, будь ласка, підійдіть з ручками та напишіть своє ім'я, прізвище, номер телефону, але розбірливо, щоб потім ми мали змогу розібратись, куди відправляти. І відділення нової пошти. Ну і місто, якщо це не Київ. Так, і тепер беру ще один. І 10. Також отримую кепку. Будь ласка. Робіть це. Ось. Йдемо далі. Тепер давайте зробимо це те ж саме для худі. Готові? Сподіваюся, що готові. Я готовий. Починаю. Знову ж таки, 21, 26, 16, 6. Будь ласка, підійдіть, зробіть те саме. Ще раз, 21, 26, 16, 6. В кого є ці номерки, будь ласка. Ви отримаєте худі. І ще один. 27. Номер 27. Також отримує худі. Я вас вітаю, друзі. Це супер, класно. Вітаю. А тепер головні призи на сьогоднішнього дня. От ви бачите, я тут виписав всі донати, які я отримав. 40 донатів. Зараз я 2 рази оберу 2 рази я зроблю типу random generator, і це буде розігруватись Ledger на NS+, як я казав. Звісно, одна і та сама людина не може отримати типу 2 рази, тому якщо підряд випаде 2, то там інша людина вже не буде приймати участь. Також наголошую, що якщо там людина виграє Ledger на NS+, і так станеться, що вона виграє Ledger на NX, то, на жаль, Ledger на NX вона не отримує. Це не сильно там якось справедливо. Щось таке, але як є. Nano S Plus теж добре. Отже, у нас 40 чисел. Ну, я бажаю всім, нехай щастить. Тож, get numbers 1. Поїхали. Перший 4. Це в нас Денис Конопльов. До речі, з Денисом у нас історія. Я тобі вітаю. Він прийшов, він не зміг спалити. В нього там були якісь технічні проблеми, я пам'ятаю. Але наче ми їх пофіксили, ні, вони там з Wallet Connect були проблеми, він так і не зміг спалити NFT, не отримав білет. Але все одно я сказав йому приходити, і він прийшов і отримує Ledger на NS. Будь ласка, в кого в леджери, віддайте Денису його леджер. Так, перший є. Поїхали ще раз. 36. Олександр Пугач. Ledger на NS+. Вітаю. Вітаю. Супер. Отже, також віддайте, будь ласка, Олександру його Ledger на NS+. Дякую всім, хто донатив. Це супер важливо для всіх. Для мене в тому числі. Мене ще чути? Бо я бачу себе. Я не знаю, чи мене чути. Ага, все добре. І дивіться, тепер найголовніший при сьогоднішнього дня – це Ledger на X. І після цього я вас відпускаю, і ви йдете там їсти, пити, спілкуватись один з одним і так далі. Тож, мені здається, що буде справедливо, якщо ми виберемо... Зараз, одну секунду. Якщо ми виберемо людину, яка не пожаліла задонатила найбільше, з усіх тих донатів, хто робив донати, це взагалі невелика сума, але це найбільша сума. Вона не найбільша, там є ще одна людина, але ми вибираємо. Є два таких донати, але ми вибираємо того, хто перший це зробив. Це Максим Гришко. Що там відбувається? Можеш сказати мені в мікрофон? Я чую якісь голоси.
Тут обсуждають.
Що обсуждають?
Та нічого вже. Хочеш щось сказати?
Що?
Макс Гришко, привіт, це Влад з Encrypted.
Привіт.
Макс Гришко – це наш великий друг, автор каналу The Wolf of Your Street. Підписуйтесь. І ми просто сиділи тільки що і спілкувалися стосовно, хто що може виграти. Типу, ми дуже близькі були до того, щоб виграти худі, а виграв він, коротше. І він трошки негодував, такий, а чому? Я ж там кинув, 500 гривень. Він же, коротше, ФОМа включив стосовно того, що скинув п'ятихаточку, але один раз було записано його прізвище. Типу, він думав, що це буде 5 по 100, 5 білетиків. Але виграв, просто тому що красавчик. Але беріть приклад, коли Типу, просто закинув 500, навіть не думаючи, що буде. Вітаю всіх.
Так, це ж був сенс. Дякую.
Пару слів Максу. Макс просто задоволений, все окей. Да, дякую вам.
Супер. Я теж задоволений. Я сподіваюся, що все там у вас буде добре. Тримайтесь, друзі. Перемога скоро. Дякую всім, що прийшли. Це був останній наш івент в цьому році. Зустрінемось у 2023-му. Насолоджуйтесь цим вечором, спілкуйтесь.
Да, сьогодні тривоги не було якраз, кстати, а то всі пішли
Супер.
в бункер. Ну, я маю на увазі зараз, тому що ми всі в бункер прийшли. Ростік, а хто виграв леджери-то?
Так я ж казав, наче.
Ну так
Дивись,
давайте ж
Олександр...
ми всім віддамо, ну що?
Ну давай, я думав, ви вже віддали.
Ні, ми нікому не віддавали. Кому який, ви обираєте. Ладно,
Да, дивіться, Денис Конопльов, Ledger на NS Plus, Олександр
Хто?
Пугач, Ledger на NS Plus, і Максим Гришко, Ledger на NX.
Тебе X, S, X. Тебе X, ну нічого себе, ти модний. Всім віддали вже, все.
Все, дякую. Супер.
Ну,
Все,
тоді
бажаю
так.
всім гарного настрою.
Да, там якраз віно
Всім-
відкриємо.
Клас.
Да.
Всім до зустрічі.
Все.
Дякую, що прийшли.
Всім дякую, да, можете проходити.